Hey guys, it's Daniel from Valve Tec, and while I'm a little late to the party, I thought I would take some time today to just break down the recently revealed Half-Life Alyx trailer that released just roughly a few days ago. This new trailer is just absolutely loaded with tons of details, new enemies, characters both old and new, and of course, it's all running on their new and improved Source 2 engine. So without further ado, let's just hop right into this trailer and just look at some of the new things that were shown off in it. Alright, so past the intro credits, we hear heavy breathing and what sounds like to be Alyx Vance in some sort of laundromat. It's actually probably some sort of warehouse, given some of the boxes sprawled everywhere, but another thing to note is some of the interesting foliage plastered around this building that's very reminiscent of Zen, which is the border world, so I'm assuming this is probably just a little pocket left over from the Renaissance Cascade. Of course, when that all occurred in Half-Life 1, so I'm assuming that's just a little pocket left over. So moving forward, a new enemy type is revealed, which appears to be this like weird electric stingray with legs and a tail. It looks to be probably something from Zen rather than the Combine, but nonetheless, it's a very interesting creature. A little bit after that encounter, Alyx then gets jumped by a head crab, which I can only imagine could be a nightmare in VR, and honestly, they do not look cute and cuddly like they did when they had like 1/6 the poly count they did back then, by the way. That thing is going to be a whole different animal when it comes to VR Half-Life. We then hear some unknown voice call for Alyx before she responds, which of course confirms that we are playing as Alyx, as the title of the game would probably imply that we are filling the role as a younger Alyx Vance who has been in both Half-Life 2 and its respective episodes. Also note, it's a different voice actor, but they honestly sound so similar, it's really not that big of a deal. I just thought I'd note on that. After that little interaction, we see the infamous City 17 as the Citadel is being set up. They have power cables shooting up the giant tower, zip lines, and even hunter choppers delivering pieces. The actual city looks even better than Half-Life 2, and I appreciate that they still kept the dull-looking colors and atmosphere that City 17 kind of brought to the table, similar to what we see in Half-Life 2, even if it is sort of just before, like, you know, they're kind of in the midst of getting captured, so it still looks really nice, and I feel like it still looks like it's just very depressing. Aside from just how beautiful this game looks though, I'm glad they're sticking to the timeline, and the construction of the Citadel really keeps the immersion of it feeling like a prequel to Half-Life 2, rather than it happening like a couple of weeks beforehand. So past the Valve intro, we see what looks like to be inside City 17 itself, where we get a closer look at all the rundown buildings that have been overthrown by the Combine and, well, what I'm presuming is the 7-hour war. So on this street, we see a Strider with a platform fixated on top of it for Combine soldiers to ride on, as well as some other Combine soldiers on the ground level. Note that these guys look a little bit different to their Half-Life 2 counterparts, so I wonder if they're just a different type of soldier or if they're just remodeled. Here, we get another look at the power lines or stabilizers for the Citadel, followed up by some first-person gameplay of Alyx using some new tool to do a little bit of that classic Half-Life puzzle solving. I'd also like to note here that it kind of looks like the hacking device Alyx used through Nova Prospekt in the Citadel back in Half-Life 2. So possibly it could be that same item, or perhaps this is something completely new. Now, in the next segment, we see a new character who really isn't known yet. The only thing made apparent is that this man is working in part with Alyx and her attempt to access some sort of Combine vault. Regardless, I wonder how he'll contribute to the story, and I actually look forward to seeing some character development from him. And of course, new characters in the Half-Life series is always welcome. Okay, so check this out. We actually have a very cool view of Alyx's hands that are supposedly gravity gloves, as they are called. Since this is a VR game, a HUD really isn't going to be used directly. You know, you got to make it a bit more subtle. So all the information is stored right on these hands, such as her health, which is displayed in little 8-bit hearts, and her shield, presumably right below it.
Don't worry, it's unloaded. It's unloaded now.
Comedy. Also, she grabs the gun with her gravity gloves, which is pretty badass, followed up with a manual reload. It essentially looks like you're just gonna have your own personal gravity gun on your hands, which I think will create some fun puzzle solving and also gunplay as well. So next up, we see Alyx healing, which is done by the user placing their hand into this like health dock, and you can now heal and shoot around the corner, which is really sick. It's very interactive, so you know, you can hold a pistol in one hand and shoot some zombies while you heal in the other. The new zombie models are also kind of shown off here, and they look absolutely gross, and those head crabs, they look like raw chicken. It's crazy. And then we also see a ad to drink the natural water, which, as you learn in Half-Life 2, is not really the case. We did see Alyx get into an encounter with a Combine, and she's kind of scattering around for some shotgun shells, and oh my god, is that a scout figurine? Huh. Maybe Valve hasn't forgot about TF2. But we see her load her gun and then blast some Combine in the face, followed up by the classic flatline sound they make when you kill them. Also returning is Alyx's father, Eli Vance, in a much younger form, who has once again been captured, since he seems to just be the beacon of knowledge when it comes to what the Combine want to know, which makes sense, I guess, since he was a former Black Mesa employee. We get a better look at the Strider here and its fleshy underside that looks really gross but also really cool. I like a lot of the remodeling done with a lot of these old school enemies. They just made them look a lot more gross and realistic compared to how they did in the past games. Followed up by a rundown house that appears to just be infested with head and poison crabs and barnacles. We then get a few frames of the Citadel that transports prisoners and supplies. This whole next segment is just all frame by frame, like it's very quick shots of like different things. And in another couple of frames, we see Alyx sneaking up on some Combine in City 17. We get another cool little bit of this holographic map that she was able to like mark some sort of waypoint on using a cup. And then moving on, we saw a new Combine soldier. This looks like a really beefy Combine soldier actually from the look of his armor. Almost similar to the shotgun Combine soldiers seen in Half-Life 2. And he then gets his head beaten with a box, followed up by a couple of pistol rounds. And then finally, we see Alyx in what looks like to be some sort of sewer, where we get a better look at a barnacle. And these things honestly look horrifying. Like, they look completely different compared to Half-Life 2. Like, in Half-Life 2, they looked so, I don't know, they were nowhere near as menacing, especially since it's gonna be VR. Like, I can only imagine if you just get grappled by one of those things, it's probably gonna be insane. After that, they cut to what looks like some, like, underground-esque Zen room that is probably once again from the Renaissance Cascade. And it honestly gives me a lot of, like, Doom Eternal vibes almost, because it just looks like hell straight up just took over, you know, except that Zen in this case just kind of like took over an area. I think it's gonna be really cool to explore a lot of those little Zen pockets, or maybe this is just something that G-Man is like putting Alyx through, who knows. Now, this next little scene is a little weird as we see a weird hallway of metal panels funneling towards a door with a cryptic like icon that is not quite known. Once again, I think this might be something to do maybe with the G-Man. We then transition back to some more puzzle solving, followed up by Alyx stealing some sort of new grenade off a Combine using her gravity gloves, which is pretty cool. I think you're going to be able to do a lot of cool things with these gravity gloves. I think that's just another showcase between just, you know, stealing supplies off your enemies. We then get another up close and personal gross look at these new zombie models, which once again, they actually do look really cool, and they didn't make the they didn't hold back with the head crab. Like I said, that thing is still raw chicken. You can't change my mind on that. We then get to see another new enemy type that also looks like to be from the Zen world. It looks to be some sort of electric bending enemy that can send shockwaves towards the player, and looks like a really cool new enemy type. I'd also like to note that also in this same scene, we see a Combine soldier down in the bottom left wearing a hazmat suit, which makes me wonder if they were like potentially trying to contain this monster. Trailer cuts to Alyx fighting some antlions, which of course we've seen in Half-Life 2. They look amazing. The hairs on their limbs are actually they look really good, and they look so much more realistic, similar to what they did with the barnacle and the Strider and the head crab. And they seem to have like some sort of glowing legs thing going on, which could probably signify that that's their weak points for Alyx to shoot at. They look actually very cool though. After that, we cut to the title card along with a floating Combine structure. Of course, the Y is actually just the iconic Lambda logo flipped upside down, and well, the last part of this trailer really requires no context. Also, one last thing to note, in Valve's new channel banner on their YouTube channel, we see Heavy Weapons Guy in the collage of Valve games, so at least we know Valve remembered TF2 exists, right guys? Anyways guys, that was just a quick rundown of some of the interesting things I found in Half-Life Alyx. This is Valve's flagship VR title running on Source 2, and it will be released in March 2020. I unfortunately don't have a VR headset, but I'll be interested to see how this game plays, and we'll be watching it along the way to release. If you guys did happen to go on to enjoy today's video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new here. Other than that guys, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and as always, thank you, and have a good day.